Hi, this is our answer to question 7 of the evaluation. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? So, we're going to go through everything that we think we've learned from when we started doing this course in November and we did our preliminary task. So, the first question... the first
answer, please.
Answer. What have we learnt? So, what have we learnt?
Well, we have learned how to film an eyeline match and a match on action. Before this, we'd heard of them.
We'd heard of them, but never actually put them into practice.
Yeah, we knew what they were, we knew what they consisted of, but we were like, oh, never tried filming this. So during the preliminary task, we started filming it. We got the hang of it.
And then by the time we did our real opening sequence, we were able to effectively use both and a variety of other techniques so that we can make, well, in our opinion, a more flawless video than our preliminary. So preliminary was more for experimenting with these techniques that we just learned how to do. And then we actually put them into practice and then developed them for our final task. We put a lot more planning into our real task, so we learned how to effectively plan, how to plan every little detail, because for our preliminary, a lot of it we just filmed on the day and then added it into all our shot lists after. But for the real task, we were able to draw a storyboard first, a shot list first, create everything, so we had known exactly how to plan it all.
We've learned how films have been distributed to an audience and how they've managed to gain profit, and how films are budgeted, you get high budget films and low budget films.
Yeah, until this point we had known the fundamentals of how the film industry worked, but never known in detail, and we have now learned exactly what goes into making a film, and more specifically an opening sequence, how they're budgeted, where all the money goes, what jobs are required. We just learned a lot about movies as a whole, how they work and stuff like that. So it's helped us to progress and make our own opening sequence. Yeah, really effective.
And we've gained a lot of knowledge on it as well.
The next thing was, in our preliminary, we realised that we did not apply the 180-degree rule at one moment, which was the over the shoulder. One of the over
near
shoulders.
the end.
Near the end, the one we forgot about 180-degree rule. And we went back, we looked at this, looked where we went wrong, and then very, very, very carefully made sure that we applied this rule throughout our actual task.
Yeah. By even getting a piece of string and tying it from one tree to the other tree.
To make sure we did not cross that line.
Yes, we didn't cross that line. We filmed behind that line.
The whole time. We learned a lot more about sound, both diegetic and non-diegetic. So
we created our own soundtrack. For our preliminary task, we used non-copyright music, which we had found online. Was it?
Yeah,
on the software, on the Movie Plus software.
Yeah, it was existing royalty-free music.
However, in our main task, we managed to put together our own soundtrack because Becky and her friends
do music.
So we managed to put together a piece of music and record it and then use it for our final piece.
So we learned a lot more about how to build tension through non-diegetic sound, and how important it is and how crucial it is, because we watched our opening sequence without any sound in it, and it didn't look right.
Yeah. It didn't look right, it didn't feel right, and you got bored of it.
Yeah, we realised how important sound was, especially with our... Well, going back to the preliminary, without the music, it again was very boring, very plain. So we've just learned how important music is
Yeah.
through that. Also using diegetic sound, and we've broadened our horizons with working on how to make Foley sound.
Yeah, and it's really fun making it as well.
Yes. For our preliminary, we used sounds that we recorded, whereas we actually used the Foley sound from a computer software for this one to make it sound much more professional. So we didn't have like the background buzz that you have on a normal like recording if you're recording with a laptop or something. So we worked on how to make the best possible Foley sound that sounds the most realistic.
We've learned how to use Serif Movie Plus more as well. Like, we'd used it for our GCSEs last year, but just like the basic tools and whatever. But putting together our main task, we've managed to explore Movie Plus into depth and find out new effects and transitions and how to cut smoothly and create dissolves and put everything together so it all flows and looks professional.
Yeah, and to add over top credits and to fix image. I think that was the main thing. Like for our preliminary, we didn't fix the image, which is where you just add like a filter of some kind over the top, or like change the shadows, so high key, low key lighting. You do that via the software instead of actually physically doing it when you're filming. So we didn't do that for our preliminary, and we looked back on it, and I think if we had added, some kind of color correction to the video, it would have looked a lot better. So we learned a lot more about that. We looked at lots of tutorials on Serif to make sure that we knew exactly what we were doing. But for our preliminary, we did not concentrate heavily on props and costumes. We collected them, I think, the day before or on the day. So we didn't really concentrate that much on them, and we had a case where we didn't have a phone we needed, so we had to change it over and use something else, and it made a lot of hassle.
It was a bit of a rush, our preliminary task. It was it's just practice to try and get over and done with, where the main task we had to really think about our costumes and props, and if we had to buy them, then we had to arrange a date to go out and buy them and make sure if it was the dress, make sure it was the correct size so it all fitted well.
Yep, and it all went together.